It's time for the whole 9 yards. Hello, everyone. I'm Ralph Ventre. I'm here to bring you the whole 9 yards on the second week of Northeast Conference play. We all know about the importance of conference games when there's a league title on the line and an automatic bid to the FCS playoffs. But when the league schedule only consists of 6 games, these games become even more important in the long run. So we have 3 matchups this week. Let's tackle them right now with our No Huddle preview. We kick off with what I'd like to call a mouth-watering matchup. I don't know about you, but I've been salivating over this one since last Saturday night. The 2013 NEC co-champs will clash on the Bluff in Pittsburgh. Sacred Heart and Duquesne were the top 2 finishers in the NEC preseason coaches poll, and both are on fire heading into Saturday's matchup. Sacred Heart is 5-1 overall and did not suffer a letdown after its big Week 6 win over Delaware. The Pioneers returned home and took care of business against Robert Morris in their NEC opener. The back-to-back wins has head coach Mark Nofri feeling good.
Our biggest concern, and my concern as the head coach, was coming off a big win against Delaware and a little bit of a hangover. It was a lousy day weather-wise. It was a weekend where I'm not people on campus, and it's kind of set up for disaster right there. And we talked about it all week. Delaware was behind us. Move on. You got conference play. Come out from the get-go and play with enthusiasm and excitement. And I'll tell you what, they did.
Duquesne, on the other hand, has won 4 in a row. Jerry Schmidt's Dukes opened up their league schedule last week on the road, pulling out a 28-20 win over Central Connecticut State. Dylan Beekle and Chris King were at it again. The duo hooked up for 3 touchdowns in the 8-point victory. Here's what King had to say about his quarterback after the victory.
He's just a great player. We all like him. He puts the ball in the right spot for all of us and the receivers, and he just makes the right decisions for everybody else.
As you can see, King had some high praise for Beekle, who engineers one of the top passing attacks in the football championship subdivision. Duquesne is ranked 6th on the FCS passing leaderboard, and Sacred Heart head coach Mark Nofri is well aware of their passing prowess.
They're very well coached, and they got guys, and they'll be ready to play at home. And our kids got to go out there and know that there's a challenge ahead of them, and they're going to have to answer the bell like they did last 2 weeks ago against Delaware.
While the Duquesne offense is pass-heavy, Sacred Heart's attack is more of a multifaceted offense. Quarterback R.J. Noel throws for over 200 yards a game and is also the conference's 6th leading rusher. In the backfield, Kashada Spence and Sean Bell are a great 1-2 punch for the Pioneers. Wide receiver Tyler Doobie can even carry the ball, as Robert Morris found out last week. The bottom line, 2 good teams will clash at Rooney Field, and this one should be a lot of fun on Saturday.
Duquesne's good. They gave us, like I said last year, it's a toss-up. When you look at both of our teams, we're equally matched on paper.
The second matchup on the Week 8 docket will unfold in Moon Township at Joe Walton Stadium. It's Central Connecticut at Robert Morris. 2 first-year head coaches, John Banaszak for Robert Morris, Peter Rosamondo for Central. Both the Colonials and the Blue Devils are coming off losses in their NEC openers in Week 7. So you better believe these 2 sides will be hungry for a victory on Saturday. It'll be the home NEC opener for Robert Morris, which suffered a setback at Sacred Heart last week. Those watching this one on NEC Front Row Saturday will get a look at 2 elite receivers. For Central Connecticut, it's number 21, Tyrell Holmes. For Robert Morris, number 7, Dwayne Money Mitchell. Both are over 300 yards receiving this year, and the latter, Mitchell, has made at least 1 catch in 28 straight games. Running back is another area where there will be no shortage of talent at Joe Walton Stadium. CCSU's Rob Holloman, a senior candidate for the Walter Payton Award, is second in the NEC in rushing with 710 yards. Meanwhile, Robert Morris rookie Ramses Owens is third on the league leaderboard. He's rushed for 501 yards in his first 6 collegiate contests. The ability to run the football will be important when Central Connecticut meets Robert Morris in Week 8. It's our third and final matchup here in the No Huddle preview. This matchup features the lone NEC team that has yet to open up its conference schedule. That would be Bryant. The Bulldogs will travel to St. Francis U for a Week 8 matchup in the Pine Bowl. Bryant, which won 4 of its 5 non-conference games, had a bye last week, while St. Francis was busy battling Wagner. St. Francis is 2-4 overall this season, but they have proven to be a resilient bunch. The Red Flash fell behind 21-0 on the road last week, but came back to take a 22-21 advantage before eventually falling in 2 overtimes. Bryant, on the other hand, picked up 4 non-conference victories, including 2 over members of the CAA, because they've relied on their defense. The defense, as Marty Fine knows, along with the kicking game, has led the way for the Bulldogs.
Well, we'll talk about the positives first, right? We're thrilled with how we're playing on defense. Our kicking game has really given us a bunch of big plays. We're explosive in kick return. Our punt team leads the league in net punt. We've had some fakes in the field goal and a punt fake. We haven't had any huge miscues. We had a punt block the other day, which was a mistake on our part. But in general, our defense and our kicking game have really led the way for our team, and that's what we're built to be, and that's what we want to be. And if we can continue to do that and stay healthy and play fast and physical in those 2 areas, we think we're explosive and great enough for explosive plays on offense to be in all the games.
Meanwhile, St. Francis is a dangerous team when it gets its run game going. The veteran offensive line, led by Colin Gadula and Thurston Keno, have paved the way for Kahari Dixon this year. Dixon remains atop the FCS rushing leaderboard, 1,041 yards thus far. But this weekend, he'll face a top 20 run defense. The battle between Bryant's defensive line and St. Francis's Big Uglies will go a long way in deciding the outcome of this one. Yep, you guessed it. It's time for our weekly Twitter timeout. This week's featured tweet comes from Joe Ackerson. Joe was obviously watching last week's Sacred Heart Robert Morris game on NEC Front Row and was rather impressed with the Pioneers' defense. He asked, is there a better D in the football championship subdivision? Well, technically, Joe, there are some teams ranked higher than the Pioneers on the FCS leaderboard, but as far as the NEC goes, Sacred Heart is number 1 in scoring defense. So, although we can't confirm your point 100%, Joe, the bottom line is, yeah, that Sacred Heart defense, it's pretty darn good. It's the third segment of our show, and it's time to take a look at X's and O's. We'll feature 1 player on the offensive side of the ball and 1 player on the defensive side. We start on defense with Sacred Heart sophomore James Rentz. He was an all-NEC selection as a rookie, and Rentz has not suffered a sophomore slump in the slightest. The reigning NEC Defensive Player of the Week had 3.5 sacks in the win over Robert Morris, and he ranks amongst the top 10 FCS leaders in quarterback takedowns. This native Floridian has taken the NEC by storm, and his head coach, Mark Nofri, is quite impressed.
I mean, the kid is, he's got a motor. He's got a motor that never stops. He's probably the strongest kid on the team. He loves coming to practice every day in the weight room. I mean, the kid is a football kid. He's watching tape all the time. He's a smart kid, and he goes about his business. And I'll tell you what, if you can get after the quarterback and not bring pressure, it makes it a whole easier job for the secondary And then you add Coach Wisman's pressures and different combinations and different looks you get. And that's one of the things you got to do when you play good teams with a good quarterback. Not always are you going to get a sack, but you got to make them uncomfortable back there, and that's what he does.
And now on offense, we turn the focus to Bryant University's junior running back, Ricardo McCray. Rico, as they call him, has been a phenomenal all-purpose runner for the Bulldogs and a key reason why they've won 4 out of their first 5. In a big win over previously unbeaten Bucknell, McCray went for not 1, not 2, but 3 touchdowns, including this 96-yard scamper you see right here. It was the longest rush in Bryant program history. Here's what Marty Fine had to say about McCray.
Big plays battle with Rico and Paul and Jose and Chad. Rico won the Offensive Player of the Week for the week.
So there you've had it. We've done the No Huddle preview. We took a Twitter timeout. We've looked at the X's and O's. There's only one thing left, and that's to watch the games on Saturday. You can see all 3 of those matchups live for free right here on NEC Front Row. Thanks for watching. I'm Ralph Ventre with the whole 9 yards. We'll see you next week. Oh, and enjoy Northeast Conference football.